I'm Algernon Cash, and you're locked in live. Thank you for joining me for this quick segment. I've got a great guest for you guys this evening. We're going to be talking about the Georgia Senate runoff race. All eyes on Georgia. And I'm not just talking about here in America. I mean, the entire world right now is watching to see what's going to happen in Georgia because the outcome of that race will decide the balance of power in Washington, D.C. And so everyone all around the world is just wondering, will Republicans maintain control of the Senate, or will perhaps maybe Democrats capture control of the upper chamber, which obviously Democrats already have a majority in the lower chamber, and they are set to take over the executive branch on January 20th. And I continue to say, again, I don't like partisan bickering, but I do like divided government. And so I am certainly rooting for the Republican candidates down in Georgia. And I think everyone, if you care about good, healthy, effective government, you should be rooting for the Republicans too, simply because that creates balance and it doesn't allow one party to have absolute control in Washington, D.C. I read in a New York Times article, $450 million has already been spent by outside groups on advertising in Georgia. So this is by far probably one of the not only the most watched races, but certainly one of the most expensive. And I've got a friend of mine here to join us. She's actually down in Georgia. She's down there working in the field. So she's on the front line of the action. And I'm so happy to have Selena locking in with us today. Selena, how you doing?
Hey, Algernon. Thank you for having me. Doing great. Super excited and working hard.
Well, I am so happy, and thank you for just making some time out of your so busy schedule down there to come join us, and just give us a quick update on what's happening down in Georgia. I think everyone is looking at Georgia. Everybody's talking about Georgia. Everybody's focused on the outcome of this Senate runoff race, which could determine the balance of power in Washington, D.C. For my audience, I want you to know Selena is someone that has been very active. She's not from Georgia. She's actually from the Triad area. I met her at a big event for the Guilford County Republican Party many years ago that featured Lieutenant Governor Dan Forest. So she is someone that has been working in the trenches on behalf of the Republican Party for a very long time, and she has uprooted herself and went down to Georgia, went to the front lines of the battle to help Republicans win the race down there. I guess to start off, Selena, how's daily life in Georgia right now?
Extremely busy. The pressure is real, but it's also very rewarding when you talk to some of these voters. So on average, we are up. I mean, we want to be at that door by 9 a.m. And this means, breakfast, all of that, get it in because you need to be there. Um, I have a team, so I actually have to go collect my team every single morning. We have to discuss where we're going to be knocking, who's going to be doing what. We have our daily goals. We have our personal goals. So it's pretty long days. Just to give it to you straight.
And when you're knocking on those doors, it's one thing we sort of observe what's happening in Georgia through the eyes of the media, what we can find online and through our friends' posts and those kind of things. But you're on the front line. I mean, you're down there talking to actual Georgia residents and voters. What kind of reaction and response are they giving you to this runoff race right now?
Um, Really, they're tired. They're tired and spiritually almost not defeated, but very exhausted. And I completely, I mean, I get it. I would be too. I would be very upset. And I think, what I hear a lot is I know that it matters, but it almost feels like it doesn't matter because if they were able to get to the SCOTUS, group, then they're going to be able to get away with anything and everything. So it's also very important for us to be there to just kind of remind them, be like, hey, we're here. Like I came in from North Carolina, my friends came in from Austin, Texas, California, whatever. We're here to help you out, but they are extremely tired. And I had this one lady that she didn't know that we were from out of state. And when she heard that, it gave her hope because she was like, well, if other people care about this race, and to actually see it, besides what they hear from the media, to actually see that, it really gave her a lot of hope. So the reaction has been what is kind of expected. People were really upset.
And I know you're really focused on trying to identify and turn out Republican voters, obviously for Senator Loeffler as well as Senator Perdue. Have you run into Republican voters that have just said, I am completely fed up with the elections. I don't like the outcome. I don't trust the system. I refuse to vote on January 5th. Have you gotten that kind of pushback from Republican voters?
No, actually. So I can maybe count on one hand the amount of Republicans that are kind of on that boat, or they've decided to switch parties for whatever the reason. But for the most part, I would honestly say more than 95% of the people that I talk to, they're going to vote because one of the things that you mentioned was the balance of powers. And that is probably the number one reason as to why they want to vote. And they feel like, they just got to go out there and do it one last time. Just go out and put it out there.
And you mentioned having you've got a team that you're working with down there. Any idea how many people have converged on Georgia for this effort? I was talking to the RNC. They said there's about 600 field staff that's come to Georgia for this race. Have you gotten any kind of insight on how many people are down there working this campaign? Or
it is so beautiful. So my organization, I'm with Vanguard. We are actually about 200 to 300 people. We're actually flying more people in at the end of this week. We will be flying another crew in. I'm supposed to have a roommate. I don't have one right now, but I'm pretty sure I will right after the holidays. So we're constantly bringing people in. Our team alone is about 300 people. I know the RNC is here. I know there's so many other different organizations here. Today alone, I ran into 2 canvassers that were not with Vanguard. And there's constantly days where I will go knock on a door and there's already a door hanger there. So I know there's other organizations here. There is absolutely no telling how many people are here, but I know it's a huge presence. Last night I was at an event and I met 3 guys from California. And they were with a completely different organization, not the RNC, not Vanguard. I have no idea who they were with, but they were here working for Purdue. So I know there's a lot of people. They are also spread out. So I'm in the Alpharetta area. I know the RNC is around Athens, and we're all just, spread out everywhere.
that's so interesting to me. Obviously I was I follow you on Facebook. I think I might be one of your biggest fans. So I follow you on Facebook. I keep up with you on Instagram. And I saw your pictures is what prompted me to reach out and ask you to come give us this quick update, is because I saw your pictures. I didn't even know you were down there because I know you to be a Greensboro, sort of Guilford County, person. And when I realized you were down there working, I was just like really shocked by this. And then I ended up talking to some friends at the RNC, and they said, yes, Algernon, man, we got people coming from all over the country that are coming into Georgia that care about this race, that want to make sure that we turn out voters and that we somehow keep the balance of power in Washington, D.C. So I just think this is remarkable. I know your job down there is to identify and turn out Republican voters. But I have to ask, what's the level of excitement from the opposite side? I mean, do you run in to the field teams associated with the Democratic Party? What kind of activity do you see from the opposing side down in Georgia right now?
So a lot of yard signs, a lot of billboards. That's really honestly it. I've seen two Democrats that were canvassing, but they didn't have an app. They had a paper copy list. So it's not very organized from what I've noticed. And that's honestly it. A few signs on some cars. That's really it.
So your perspective, I want to make sure I'm getting this right, because I think this is important for my audience. Your perspective is that the Democratic side, the Democratic field operation, is not as sophisticated as what you're seeing on the Republican side right now. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, absolutely. The most that I've seen, it was a group of 3 males at an early voting location just waving signs. That's really it.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting to me because I think when you look at the general election for 2020 and the reason why, obviously, us Republicans, we weren't successful at the very top of the ticket. But if you look at down ballot races, we were very, hugely successful. And it seems like the reason why is because Republicans, the field operation has just been so much more developed and sophisticated than what we see on the opposite side, which historically Democrats are a little better at field operations than Republicans. So I think that's even interesting. So, one last question I have for you, when you're out talking to some of these potential voters and we hear about how there was 800,000 new people registered to vote, in this latest election cycle we just went through. When you're engaging with voters, how educated are they about the runoff? Like, do they even understand that the runoff is going on? Are they a little disconnected from it? What kind of obstacles are you seeing in the awareness area?
So with that one, it's a little 50-50, especially with the older community. Sometimes I'll have them answer the door and be like, wait, I just voted. What do you mean? What is a runoff? So it's very important for us to basically just kind of break it down for them and try to get them to understand what's going on. There's some people, I know I had a couple that had just moved. So they had like absentee ballots and they didn't know what to do, where to even go. So there is a lot of movement as far as that goes. And again, the best that I can do is just try to inform them and let them know, like, here are the resources, here are the tools. And this is where you need to go as far as early voting or whatever it is that they decide to do. So it's a little 50-50. Sometimes, for the most part, if they've lived there, they're probably in their 40s, 50s. They know what's going on. They're engaged in the community, so they understand, they know where to vote, all of that good stuff.
We've seen so many allegations of voter fraud and election irregularities and you name it. And you're down there on the ground, you're on the front lines, you're knocking on doors, you're talking to residents and voters. I have to ask you, do you think that voter fraud in Georgia, is that a real thing for us that are so far away?
Yes, it's real. I've talked to people that were either, as poll watchers, Republican poll watchers, and they were treated completely different than any other poll watcher. I've talked to just so many people that were there doing recounts, and yeah, there was something going on. And I think that's why people are so upset here. It's you know something happened, and it's kind of hard whenever you see something and then they're like, no, that didn't happen, or they're just trying to brush it off. You know what I mean? So
there's some frustration and some voter angst about the outcome of this most recent election. Selena, before I let you go, man, any early predictions? Can we count on Loeffler and Perdue to get it across the finish line? Or
here's what I'm going to tell you. So I actually worked very close in Atlanta, right? So one of the inner cities where everybody's going to vote blue. I saw more independent and soft Republicans in that area than what I actually saw Democrats. So if we don't pull this off, I really don't see how or why we don't. Because even the people that are kind of swing voters, they understand that we need the balance of powers. They understand all of that. So I honestly feel very optimistic about this. Besides the ground game, people are very smart, and they're actually, I feel like they're going to do the right thing and choose, the Republican Party, mainly because of the balance in powers.
You guys heard it here first. Selena Cecilio is down in Georgia. She's on the front lines. She's working the runoff race and working to maintain some sense of balance of power in Washington, D.C. I'm just proud to know her and call her a friend. And I'm so proud of the work that she's doing on behalf of the entire party, giving up some time of her personal life here in North Carolina to go down to Georgia and work and fight on behalf of the party to get Senator Perdue and Loeffler reelected. Again, thank y'all for locking in with us. As always, if you want to support the show, make sure you like and share what you just heard. Go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel so that you'll get automatic notifications anytime we produce new interviews and content. And as always, if you want to become a sponsor, a contributor, or just make a donation, reach out to me, because we certainly takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy to produce this great content that we bring to you, and we need your support. And today, by the way, the Congress actually passed a $900 billion stimulus bill. Tomorrow, I'll have Congressman Mark Walker. He's going to be locking in, and we're going to be breaking down the bill so you'll know what to expect in this latest round of stimulus. Until then, y'all stay locked in. All right, Selena, we are good.